Let's now try some practice problems. We'll start off with some basic queries, move on to slightly more complex queries, and finally, in our last section, we'll figure out how to debug queries. In particular, I'll show you some broken queries and you'll try to fix them. So let's start off with the basic queries. So just like we've done before in the previous lessons, go ahead and create the schema for this table. Just run your create table and populate it. Take a second, pause this video and try it. All right, now here's the answer. We're going to first load our extension SQL, and then we're going to add our cell magic. This will connect to our database. And now let's create table. So here's a parentheses. We're going to specify the schema for the first column. It'll be an integer. It's the primary key. We'll also have the next column schema, which is the biome, the text. The constraint is it's not empty. The name of the next column is city, type is text, and again, it's not empty. We have visitors, integer, and it has a constraint now on it, which is a check constraint, visitors greater than or equal to 0. And for our last column, we have created at. This is a type that you haven't seen before. It's a date time, and we're not going to add a default value for now. Add a semicolon, and there's our schema. Next up, let's populate the table with the following data. So let's type in here. Again, we have the cell magic and insert into the table, which is scene, and the values. So the values here. All right, and we're gonna run this cell, and there we go. We have our data populated. Let's now count the number of rows in this table. Pause the video here, give it a shot. And here's the answer. We're going to select count star from the scene table. And I always forget my cell magic. Here's my cell magic. And there we go. We have 7 total rows. Now let's write a little bit slightly more complex query. All right, so for our question here, we're going to find the biome with the most cities. Pause the video here, give it a shot. All right, and now here is the answer. We're going to type in SQL for our cell magic, and conceptually, we're going to first group by the biomes, and then we're going to order by the number of distinct cities within that biome. Here I'm going to select, and I'm just going to select the biome name, and I'm going to select the number of cities within that biome. So here I'm going to select distinct, and then city. Here we're going to group by biome, and then we're going to order by count distinct city. Now, because we only want the biome with the most cities, we would limit 1 here. But just to make sure that we're doing this correctly, I want to see all of the results. No such column biome. So we actually forgot to write from scene. Let's try it again. So here we have desert, marine, fresh water. We'll notice that this ordering is actually in ascending by default. So to debug our query, we're going to write descending here, and then we're going to add limit 1, and we should see fresh water. And there we go, we have fresh water. For our next question, find the pair of scenes with the most visitors. And here I mean the most visitors combined between those 2 scenes. Pause the video here, give it a shot. All right, and now here's the answer. We're going to add our cell magic, and conceptually what we're going to do is first find all pairs of scenes. We saw this earlier in the previous lessons. Once you have all pairs, then we're just going to simply order by the number of total visitors, and then we're going to limit 1. So here we're going to select. Well, first I have to explain what the tables that we're going to alias to. So we're going to write scene as scene 1, and we're going to have scene as scene 2. Right, so knowing that we have those 2, we're going to report just the, actually let's just report everything. And then here we're going to then, we need to sort by something, right? So here we need to order by, and then we want to sum the visitors across both of these scenes. So scene 1 visitors plus scene 2 visitors. And normally we'd limit 1, but we want to see, double check to see if this is correct. We're also going to report this in our new table. I'm going to alias this as sum. So, whoa, we got all this data, but let's check the sums here. So we have 50, 75, 75, 100, and this goes all the way up to the very, very end here, it looks like the most we can get is 2,000. So here what you'll find is that we just summed Honolulu with itself. So we want to filter these out. We don't want the same city counted twice, right? So here we're going to actually check where scene1 dot biome is not equal to scene2 dot biome, or scene1 dot city is not equal to scene2 dot city. Let's try this again. So now we can see that the pair with the most visitors is Austin and Honolulu combined. So we don't have double counting anymore. So that looks good to us. Let's go ahead and make sure this is ordered in descending order, and then we're going to limit 1. The answer should be Austin plus Honolulu with 1,240 visitors. And there we go. Next section, let's now debug some of these queries. So first up, find all scenes with at least 125 visitors. I'm going to type out a query here, and you're going to tell me what's wrong. All right, and here's the query that you have to debug. Let's start off by typing SQL with the cell magic, and we're going to write in select city from scene group by city and where visitors is greater than or equal to 125. Run that. We've got a syntax error. Try to debug this. Remember, our goal is to find all scenes with at least 125 visitors. Pause the video here, give it a shot. All right, and now here's the answer. The basic gotcha here is that group by has to come after where. The ordering of the clauses is extremely important, and this sort of mysterious syntax error unfortunately doesn't tell us a whole lot. But keep that in mind, the ordering does matter. So here we're going to fix that by just switching group by and visitors. There we go. We've got all scenes with at least 125 visitors. Let's move on to the next problem. All right, for the next question, we need to find all cities with at least 125 visitors. Where's the bug? Let me write the query now, and you'll have to try and debug it. So here we're going to select city from the scene table where the number of visitors is greater than or equal to 125 and group by city. So here we get Austin and Honolulu. So we actually expect Las Vegas, which has 100 in the desert scene and 100 in the freshwater scene, but we only see Austin and Honolulu. So something here is wrong. What is wrong? Pause the video here and give it a shot. All right, and here's the answer. This is the tip that we gave you earlier. Where is for rows, having is for groups. You'll also notice that we didn't aggregate any of the visitors across biomes for each city. Right, so we never summed Las Vegas in the desert category and the freshwater category. So that needs to be introduced somewhere here. Let's go ahead and type in a cell magic. We're going to select city from scene and group by city, and then we'll write having. We'll need to sum all the visitors in this category, and then we'll need to make sure that that sum is at least 125. And here we have Las Vegas. All right, for this next question, we need to find the least populated city. So this is the query that you now need to debug. Let's type in SQL for the cell magic and select the city and the population. So I'm going to type in here visitors from scene. We're going to group by the city, and then we're going to order by the minimum number of visitors. Limit 1. So here we report Austin. But the least populated city isn't Austin. The least populated city is in fact Paris, because Austin here actually has another row that's got 240 visitors. So in total, Austin has 265 visitors. Here, Paris only has 50. So how do you fix this query? Pause the video here and give it a shot. All right, so let's go ahead and fix this query. Here we're going to have the cell magic SQL, and conceptually, again, we need to actually sum the number of visitors across each city, and then we'll sort this list. So here we're going to write select city, and we're going to report the visitors, and then from scene, group by city, and we're going to order by the total number of visitors. I'm going to write ascending here. This is the default, so you don't actually need to specify this, but just to be extra clear for ourselves. And then we're going to limit 1, so we're only going to select the top one. And here we finally get Paris, like expected. And that's it. So the takeaways from this lesson are that you should get familiar with SQL so that you know what questions you can answer and how to do it. All right, and that's it for this lesson.